So the Prince Andrew's arrest, as they
Mhm.
claimed it was.
Mhm.
I was doing a bunch of talks with Grok last night. That's
Mhm.
why I stayed up late.
Mhm.
They had it had told me that in the UK, an arrest is the same thing as a detention here. So he got, invited over for some crumpets and tea, and he was asked a few questions, and then he was let go. Now he's just under investigation still. So there's no
Mm.
conviction. We think about arrests here in America, we think there's a case.
Right.
They're being convicted.
Mhm.
Whereas like the Prince Andrews thing, he's not even being convicted or charged with anything.
He's not being charged with a crime.
No.
Yeah.
He's still under investigation.
Well, I mean, let's step aside for a second and put the arrests, perp walks, convictions. Let's set all that aside.
Mhm.
I'm actually very impressed that the data is actually coming out on the Epstein stuff.
Yeah.
I was very concerned that all this stuff had been destroyed,
Yeah.
that there was no chance that there would be such breadcrumbs
Yeah.
that can be followed
3
and
million files.
and studied, and
Yeah.
the conversations. I mean, certainly to learn that they were pedophiles is not that shocking because we kind of knew he was a pedophile, but then to learn all the other people that were participating in that,
Mhm.
then to learn that they are cannibals,
Yep.
shocking,
Insane.
insane, but documented. Like
Yeah.
it is clear that there were nefarious things going on sexually with children and cannibalistically with
Mhm.
children. Where that leads is going to be a moral study in our own society.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're getting the data is unbelievably important.
Mhm.
It's incredible, really. I, I'm shocked that more of it wasn't destroyed before it was taken into evidence. I'm shocked that more of it hasn't been destroyed while it's in evidence. Not saying that maybe this is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a lot that was destroyed, but
Yeah.
whoever was destroying it didn't do a very good job. Thank God,
Mhm.
because we're getting to see behind the curtain of this globalist, pedo, cannibalistic cabal,
Yeah.
which I think is shockingly important to our sensibilities. It should be shocking our sensibilities back to life in the sense that we just cruise along and we assume that society is moral, that at the baseline things are good,
Mhm.
when the truth is that we are dead and need to be shocked back into life.
Yeah. It's crazy to see the reaction from both sides. You have one side where you have the Democrats, right? They support the trans movement, which we know is abusing children
Mhm.
and hormone blockers, mutilation, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And they're so furious about the Epstein. There's no charges on the Epstein stuff,
Mhm.
right? Well, they support similarly the abuse of children
Mhm.
in their own party, but not the abuse of children.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like there's such a contradiction there.
Well, I mean, listen, all of us have seen the professors, the leftist intellectuals philosophizing about whether or not pedophilia should be considered a sexual orientation or a
Mhm.
sexual choice, like an honorable, normal
Yeah.
sexual choice of all the pantheon of sexual choices that they believe in. Um, so we shouldn't be shocked that the pedophilia, well, I mean, I don't know how they deal with all these contradictions,
Right?
right?
Like how do they go about their
I don't
life
I don't
and
know. I really don't know. I don't know. Even when I start to, like, go down the road, you run into these, like, logical problems, these logical traps, and you're just like, "Wait a minute, like, there is no defending their positions." They don't have any logical foundation for all the things they believe. To believe all the things they believe at the same time is like utter chaos,
yeah,
intellectual chaos.
yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's so difficult for Republicans in general, because I think Republicans in general are logically consistent,
Yeah.
right? Like their ideas fit together. And and so I think oftentimes the Republicans want to converse with the left as if I just talk to them enough and just reason with them enough, they will see the illogic of their ways and they'll find their way to our side. But I just don't think that's the way the left functions.
Mm-mm.
Like they don't care about logic. They don't care about things fitting together.
Common sense, nothing.
They definitely don't care about common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like the easiest thing to understand about the left is they do not care about common sense. They do not care about consistency. They do not care about logic. They 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 don't even care about what they said yesterday,
Mm-mm.
right? They don't even feel compelled to be consistent with their own beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's not like the classic phrase from Keynes, John Maynard Keynes, where he says, "I don't know about you, sir, but when the facts change, I change my mind."
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the facts are changing and they're changing their mind and they're coming out and they're saying, "Man, I was really mistaken about this whole whatever,
Yeah.
and now I'm changing my view." Instead, they just adopt whatever view seems expedient in the day, in the moment.
To fit their
To
emotions.
fit their well, maybe to fit their emotions. I can't figure out which side like,
There's no
certainly
reasoning with it
certainly,
though.
I don't believe that Barack Obama
Mm.
is just, like, driven by his own emotions. I think Barack Obama is massively manipulative,
Yeah.
okay? I think Gavin Newsom is massively manipulative.
Yeah.
These people are not confused. They're not, like, just caught up in the latest emotion of the day. They are manipulating people,
Yeah.
strategically manipulating people, and they're very, very good at it.
Mhm.
So I call those people the overlords. So the leftist overlords are massively manipulative. So anytime you meet somebody who's really, really smart and a leftist, they perceive themselves as an overlord
Yeah.
and they perceive that a society that's run as a leftist government, that they're in a category of overlord. And so their life's going to be beautiful. Their life's going to look like a successful capitalist.
Mhm.
And they think that somehow by being the overlords, they're going to treat the underlings better than capitalists,
Yeah.
which I just don't believe,
Yeah.
number one. But the people underneath the overlords that are leftists are somehow zombie like. They're the manipulated.
They're the sheep that are being led astray.
Yeah, the sheep being led astray. And I don't, again, I don't totally understand what it is that's so powerful about these overlords and the way they speak in a way that somehow communicates to the sheep, communicates to the zombies, manipulates the zombies, gets them moving. Because when I hear Gavin Newsom or Barack Obama speak, I'm like, oh my God, these guys are complete cult leaders,
Yeah.
right? Like there's nothing about them that I find compelling.
Mm-mm.
As a rational, logical, capitalist American who loves individual liberty,
Mhm.
I see right through their double speak.
Yeah.
But the leftists don't,
Yeah.
right? There's something inside of the leftist soul that maybe, well, I don't think it wants to be. Something's broken. Something. If you listen to Barack Obama and think this guy is a philosophical genius, something is broken inside of you. If you listen to Gavin Newsom and think, this guy is a credible, honorable leader, and his thinking is really just on point, there is something broken inside of you.
Yeah.
Like your antennas are off. You're not getting the signals.
You have no baseline.
I don't know what it is. There's just a psychological brokenness that leads to zombieism.
Yeah.
That's why it feels like an infection. That's why when Elon calls it the woke mind virus, it resonates because
Mhm.
it feels like people have been taken over by something that's not their own minds. That's not their own logic. That's not human logic. That's not human intuition. That's not human common sense.
Mhm.
And so it's so hard to explain. And then when you encounter these people, whether they're in your own family or in your life in different places, and you start to talk to them about politics, it starts to feel like you're dealing with zombies,
Yeah.
right? It starts to feel like you're dealing with people that have a disease, an infection that is somehow clouding their brains, or clouding their hearts. I'm not exactly sure which. And then the irony is all the things that they accuse the right of, it's what they're doing. So every time they raise their hand and they say fascist, really what they're saying is we want a fascism determined by us. Like we want to set all the rules and we want to enforce all the rules on you. But because you're fighting against that, we're going to call you a fascist to try to take away your ability to enforce any rules
Yeah.
that we don't like, right? Whereas I think the right, the rules that the right wants are individual liberty rules, right? It's questions of what is my right as a human to choose and not choose? What is my right to choose in society? What is my I I'm not allowed to choose murder. That's not one of the options I have because I'm overstepping the individual liberty of the person I'm murdering,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not allowed to choose rape because I'm overstepping the individual liberty
Mm-hmm.
of the person that is being raped. And we can go through the list of all of these crimes, these things we've designated as crimes, and all of them hold up because my individual liberty and rights stop when I transgress the individual liberty of another.
Mm-hmm.
But that holds true not just for things that are illegal, but that's what actually sets the foundation for your political ideology, right?
Yeah.
Because if you are a Republican, you should be saying, my individual liberty, your individual liberty are paramount in America. All of the Constitution exists to protect that individual liberty. The Second Amendment, the right to bear weapons of war exists to protect that individual liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our governance structure, whether it's congressional, Senate, presidential, even into the court system, all of that balance of powers exists to protect your individual liberty, to protect your veto right over the mob. This is actually why we're not a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important to make the distinction. You'll hear the left talk about democracy, and what they really mean is mob rule,
Yeah.
right? They think they have enough votes for mob rule. And they think if they stack the votes in Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Stack the votes in California. If they think they gerrymander the state in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, gerrymandering is more of a Republican endeavor because it does recognize the representation aspect.
Yeah.
But anywhere you watch Democrats stacking votes, they think that mob rule can rule the day in America because they think that mob rule can even change the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
That's fundamentally un American,
Yeah.
right? Americanism at its core is a pledge to protect the individual liberty of you, of me, of every citizen.
Mm-hmm.
And that limits what the mob's allowed to even think about doing.
Yeah.
So if you are going to claim to be an American, you have to put bright lines around the box of things that are even allowed in America.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's not allowed is socialism. It's anti-Americanism
Yeah.
at its core. Like you just can't force things down the throats of other people in America and Americanism. So the great irony is that the left has taken a position that is fundamentally opposed to the core foundation of what it means to be an American.
Yeah.
They won't admit that, even if they intellectually know it, because it would ruin their chances of turning America upside down. But we need to hold true to that. And we need to recognize the lines that our forefathers gave to us. And they said, stay inside this box and all will be well. And that's all we had to do. For years of my life, I used to tell people, I don't really care necessarily who's president, or I don't necessarily care who's representing it. Like, If you just follow the Constitution, which I believed was sacrosanct, then you can't fuck up America.
Explain what that means.
What I mean by that is
That word,
I
sacrosanct.
fundamentally believed that all of us accepted that the Constitution was the parameter of the game,
Mhm.
was the parameter of Americanness, the parameter of Americanism. And that if you honor the Constitution, then you just accept that socialist, communist ideas are unacceptable
Yeah.
because they're contrary to what we find in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, if you just listen to the Constitution, honor the Constitution, and allow for the balance of powers, but with the Constitution as a guide, then you truly can't fuck up America.
Mhm.
Because the only role of the balance of powers is to keep the Constitution intact and honor it.
Yeah.
And the Constitution's whole existence is to honor the individual,
The personal liberties.
the individual liberties of the individual.
Mhm.
So, because I'm a philosophical, ideas driven person, I look at that model and I say, we're good. Like, let's just go on about the pursuit of happiness. And that's all I really want in life. I just want to like build great businesses, make money, and build a beautiful life.
Mhm.
That's actually like my American desire.
Yeah. It's the American dream.
That is the American dream. The problem is, and I've only realized this over the last 5 years, like how big of a problem is it? I didn't realize like how big of a problem Barack Obama was in 2008.
Mhm.
I didn't realize how problematic critical race theory was when I studied it for the first time in the 90s as a joke. Like we were studying as a philosophical backwater.
Mhm.
Like, look how crazy these people are.
Yeah.
But then later, Barack Obama is implementing it, having it pushed into our educational system.
Mhm.
And you start to see that people are being brainwashed. People are being asked to believe things that philosophically those of us who study philosophy think are crazy.
Mhm.
He's asking us to believe things that those of us who study American history, who study the Constitution, who study our forefathers, who study the Federalist Papers and the conversations around what the meaning of the Constitution is. We see that he's over here wanting people to learn things that are contrary to Americanism.
Mm.
Marxism is contrary to Americanism. We should be teaching our children that Marxism is contrary to Americanism, and we should be teaching them about Marxism
Yeah.
so they can recognize it, so they can know what their enemy believes,
Mhm.
or what they can know the ideas. They're the enemy of the ideas of their country. But we're doing the opposite,
Yeah.
right? We're putting our children in this very precarious, terrible intellectual position where we're teaching them things here, but we're not relating them back to their country and the founding documents of their country. And then we're wondering why they don't like their own country
Mhm.
because they've been taught things that are actually fundamentally different than what our forefathers wanted for us. That is shockingly bad.
Yeah.
All that has to be rebuilt. And to rebuild, you have to tear down. So we need to tear education down to the studs in this country,
Completely disrupt it.
beyond
All of it.
disruption at this point. Like
Yeah.
it is a complete gut job renovation. When I say down to the studs, some of you, you have background in construction. Like you rip out the drywall,
Mhm.
you rip out the electrical, you probably rip out the plumbing.
Take it all down to the foundation.
Literally the only thing left is the foundation and maybe the walls, like the core elements of the walls.
Mhm.
But then you're rebuilding everything from the ground up. You're keeping maybe some things.
Like rebar and stuff like
Yeah, like
that. Like
whatever. Like
bare
like if the
bare
concrete's good,
minimum.
great. If
Yeah.
the concrete's bad, let's rip the whole thing down. Let's get the bulldozers,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe gut job is like too optimistic.
Yeah.
But I have to believe that like there's still like fundamentally good things.
And during that process though, what do you think needs what would happen What would need to happen for that process to be implemented? Of complete bulldoze the entire
I
systems
mean,
that
it's
we
very
are completely
it's very hard when you have the level of uh, communist intrusion,
mhm,
communist infiltration that has happened in every one of our
and they're
bureaucracies.
violent.
And they're violent, you're saying?
Yeah,
Well,
and
they
this
are violent,
communist
sure, but
revolution is violent.
what I mean is when you look at our court system and the
Mhm.
number of judges that don't even believe that the Constitution is a parameter,
Yeah,
right?
which is
That's a
insane.
major, major problem. When you look at our court system and look at the way attorneys use the court as a business,
Mhm,
they just think it's a money-making machine, a giant sucking sound, a parasitical sucking sound on capitalism. But yet they're in charge of the court, right? The judges and the lawyers are in cahoots,
mhm,
and they've created a system that is largely about making money for themselves and not about justice, not about fairness, not about order. On the business court side, definitely not about the speed of business. Like on the business side, litigation is largely used as a weapon.
mhm,
And in America, you get away with that. And it's a major problem.
yeah,
And the lawyers don't self-police because they make too much money. And the judges don't self-police because they're largely funded by the attorneys. So it's a i- it's a flywheel of legal fraud, right?
mhm,
It's a flywheel of corruption, but it's all become legalized because they control the system itself.
mhm,
So they're like, well, we're just following the process. We're just following the bureaucracy.
yeah,
We're just following
but only really to their benefit.
only to their benefit. Like
Yeah,
they've completely lost the plot
mhm,
as to why we even need a legal system in the first place.
yeah,
So that needs to be gutted.
mhm,
And then education. I mean, look at the dire state of education. Like any of us with children fear for our children as we send them into the education system. And it's because we know that the education system in general doesn't love America,
mhm,
doesn't love Americanism and the outline provided by the Constitution,
mhm,
doesn't love the core value of Americanism, which is individual liberty, doesn't teach the kids how to protect their individual liberty,
yeah,
and then really like fundamentally teaches the kids that there needs to be like massive cultural political revolution in America because the American system is somehow corrupt.
yeah.
Well, all that is like not a recipe for happiness.
Well, it
And frankly, like I don't have one liberal friend who is happy, who is genuinely, unabashedly happy.
mhm,
I have some liberal leaning friends who are kind of hippies, but who have like,
close themselves off
yeah,
from the
what is
world.
the old hippie phrase? Is like drop out, and you
I
know what I'm
don't
talking
know.
about?
I don't know. I'm a
There's a,
different generation.
I know. Well, there was a phrase in like the '60s and '70s, and it was like it was something along the lines of you know drop out and drop off,
But
and
basically just don't care.
yeah, it's basically like give up on all this and
Yeah.
go build a commune.
That's how I feel about what's been happening with the education system. Our side has really been, let's just homeschool. Let's
Yeah,
not fix it.
yeah,
Let's just walk away from it.
yeah.
And I don't think that's good
It's
at
terrible.
all.
It's not sustainable for a country
No.
because the le- the left doesn't believe in individual liberty, so the left hates homeschooling, right? Because that's like a primary example of individual liberty.
Yeah.
But the left doesn't want a whole bunch of people not learning the things they want them to know
Yeah.
because leftism requires conformity.
Mhm.
Individual liberty doesn't. If everybody honors individual liberty, then there's 10,000 versions of your life that are okay. But that doesn't work with liberalism
Mhm.
because
It's their way.
what has to be their way because the thing has to function as a whole.
Mhm.
And so you have the overlords that get to run it like a business,
Yeah.
right? And this is why you see the left calling Trump corrupt because they know if they were in charge, they're corrupt.
Mhm.
So their fundamental belief is that who's ever in charge gets the right of corruption.
Mhm.
That's why they want to be in charge because they want the corruption to be their kind of corruption. Whereas those of us who are on the right, like, we don't believe in corruption. We believe in hard work. We don't believe in
We
corruption.
despise corruption,
We
actually.
we corruption is the enemy of individual liberty
Mm.
because it takes away my ability to just work and make a great life,
Mm.
right? In the freedom of no corruption, which is it's hard to find anytime you involve humans and governments, it's hard to avoid people using government power for corruption.
Mm.
So I'm not that was the whole point of the Constitution and the checks and balances is to try to take that out of the system
Mm.
as much as possible.
Yeah.
But uh, if you fundamentally put individual liberty at the core, then you try to eliminate corruption because it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not a fair playing field, right? It's like my black liberal friends who will say to me, "Well, I need you to fight for me." Be like, "I will fight for your liberty.
Mhm.
I will fight for your freedom. I will fight for you to have every fair playing field, but I'm not willing to fight for you to have advantage.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to fight for your reparations because you think something went wrong in the past. If the playing field's unfair, let's fix the playing field. But what I'm not willing to do is change the rules of the game because you think that three other games were cheated. Okay, well, let's prove that those were cheated. Fine, but now we're trying to play fair games.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that the game is fair, not equal. It's never equal. Everybody has talents other people don't have, or wealth other people don't have, or relationships other people don't have, or there is nobody on the planet that somebody else doesn't have more of something.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about that too much, you're off base. Like
Mhm.
you're missing the point. Um,
And the point is to have that equal playing field so that you can not have disadvantages in from on the societal basis, right?
well, if we're doing Americanism right, I should be able to live on my farm
Mhm.
and I should never have to worry about whether my rights are being infringed upon from the federal level in Washington.
Yeah.
Like I should be able to live on my farm and live the way I lived for years, which was I'm an American. Like I'm free, I'm protected, I have a constitution.
Mhm.
I have a constitution and balance of powers that allow me just to be out here pursuing my own happiness.
Mm.
And I don't have to worry about whether or not there are things happening in Washington that are going to slowly strangle my liberty.
Mm.
The problem is that time has passed. That time of naivete, which I lived in, has passed because I've seen what happens when you have societies that are run by leftists from top to bottom. The
Yeah.
abuse is unbelievable. The illogic is unbelievable. The lack of understanding of business is off the charts. The lack of understanding of American civics off the charts.
Mm.
Like it is a topsy turvy, weirdo, bizarro world, and we can't let that happen in all of America. We see what's happening in Virginia, topsy turvy, bizarro world, like heinous.
Mm.
We look at Minnesota, heinous. But I've lived it in DeKalb County, heinous. DeKalb County is putrid, broken, every level broken. Fulton County, broken.
Mm.
Maybe slightly less broken than DeKalb, but
Really?
more sophisticated in its brokenness.
I just remember during the election, they had a ton of fraud happening there.
Oh, I
A
there
ton.
is no amount of fraud that would surprise me inside of Fulton or DeKalb County.
Yeah.
The difference is the Fulton fraud I would expect to be more sophisticated and covered up,
Mm.
and the DeKalb fraud I would expect to be less sophisticated, more blatant, uh, and just like third world corruption.
In that scenario where we pass the SAVE Act and
Mhm,
we get voter ID,
mhm,
like you have to have voter ID,
mhm.
these counties, right, that are committing all of this fraud,
Yeah.
sophisticated or less so or whatever,
Mhm.
do you think in that scenario where we pass the SAVE Act that that will be the solution to those counties?
Well, any law is only as good as its enforcement.
Mm,
They have to be tied together. The SAVE Act is a fundamentally great step toward fair and auditable elections, which is what we want. All we're looking for is one citizen, one vote, period.
yeah.
And then we want to be able to audit one citizen, one vote.
Make sure that that person's alive, make sure that person that is an actual citizen
Correct.
and being as a citizen has the rights that the Constitution permits.
I mean, listen, they already use this in Congress.
Mm,
Okay. As a congressman, you are issued an ID voting card. And when you go to vote, you insert your ID voting card and make your vote.
yeah,
And they now know when you pull that out, you have voted. They know how you have voted. They can audit how you have voted, and you move on with your life. That's how voting should be in America.
yeah.
Like, congressmen are not more sophisticated than the average citizen. In fact, the congressmen we have right now are probably less sophisticated than a lot of citizens.
Do you think that's because they have been in there forever? Like Mitch
Well,
McConnell, for
it is
example, or
okay, so
Rhino?
let's talk for a moment
Okay,
about career politicians.
yeah.
It is terrible. Being a politician should not be a career in America. Being a politician can be a career in a kingdom
Mm,
because you're a king. And your son's going to be a king, and his son's going to be a king, and that is a career path that is kind of like a CEO,
mm,
but it's still a career path, a
yeah,
nepotistic career path. If you do it well, you provide a covering for everybody to live their life in happiness.
mm.
We don't have that kind of system. Like, we shouldn't have, like, again, the irony is the left calls for no kings, but what they really want is an oligarchy, the overlords,
Yeah,
right? The overlords
and they
overseeing.
wouldn't want it with anybody else but them in charge.
Well, they fundamentally believe that they are some sort of like progressive enlightenment,
Mm,
and that their progressive enlightened oligarchy will best take care of the plebeians. But they think that the uh, capitalist oligarchy abuses the plebeians.
such a narcissistic way of thinking that you have the secret sauce and nobody else's ideas
Yeah.
have any merit at all.
Well, what they don't understand is that in capitalism, if you don't take care of your workers, they go work for somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty of having competition.
Yeah.
So in capitalism, if everybody's not going for a good ride, they can get on a new boat. It'd be like being a bad Viking.
Mm,
Like, if you're a bad Viking, when you come back home to Sweden and your boat isn't full of plunder and you dole it out very scarcely to the Vikings that came with you, those guys are all going to be talking about getting on another ship next time.
yeah,
They're like, who's the guy that's leading the ship that comes back with the most plunder that actually makes my life better?
yeah.
That's capitalism. And so the fundamental strength of capitalism is competition
Mm,
up and down the chain of command, right? If you're a great CEO, you can get recruited to another company. If you're a great worker, you can get recruited to another company. You see it all the time in tech with all the coding guys becoming less with AI. They're going to have to find new jobs,
yeah.
um, but for years they've been stealing each other's talent. And you see it right now in AI, the amount of talent war that's going on, stealing all the top guys.
Mm,
But so you got to keep everybody happy in capitalism, otherwise you fail at capitalism. Over here in leftist oligarchy, like, this is a one party rule. You don't have to keep anybody happy.
Yeah.
and you don't have any competition. So when you start doing bad things, you look like North Korea. Just everybody lives like, you know, slaves,
Yeah, miserable.
miserable slaves, and no way out.
It's everybody that lives miserable
Yeah,
too.
but then a small oligarchy still lives like rich people
Yeah.
because there's always you can
The
always
ruling
find enough
class.
wealth for some people to live well if you have enough power to subjugate.
Yeah.
That's what they dream about. Now, they in their the best of them think that they somehow can redistribute the economy so that everybody is quote happier. But what they fail to understand is that I don't know one leftist who's good at making money.
Mm.
Not one.
Their businesses go broke.
Well, I mean, yes, but more
I mean,
the
go woke, go
leftists I know who
broke,
are
you know?
rich largely inherited wealth.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, George Soros maybe aside, like George Soros made his own money,
Mhm.
but he has a screw loose. Like
Yeah.
he has a death wish for the majority of people. Like he has a darkness about him,
And his son that's taking over is just
doubly dark. And thank God he's not as smart as his dad,
yeah.
which is good. But he still has his dad's playbook that's
Mhm.
worked so well. But that the third generation of Soros will be meaningless. Fourth generation, but one generation made a massive dent in capitalist underpinnings.
Mm.
He's caused a lot of chaos.
While working within a capitalistic system.
Sure, I mean, but again, he's functioning as an oligarch.
Yeah.
So the oligarchs don't believe that the austerity measures apply to them.
And it goes to what you were talking about earlier with the way the system has been set up
Hmm.
to benefit the corrupt in a lot of ways.
You're talking about a leftist system.
Mhm.
The leftists, the hardest part is that they truly, well, again, there's like the dark overlords like Soros or
Yeah.
like Epstein.
Mhm.
Like they know how money's really made. They know that capitalism is how you make money.
Yeah.
But then they want to reserve the power for themselves. But then there's another form of leftist oligarch that truly actually is like true believers, that they believe that if they're in charge of the economic system, which capitalism doesn't believe there's a quote economic system. It just believes in humans going about their business.
Yeah.
And the more freedom you create, the more this business will thrive organically, which I think is true. Over here, they think it's all like choices
Mm.
and moderation, like it's moderated, like as if you're pulling levers, truly pulling levers, and that there's a fixed amount of economy, and it's just about pulling levers about where things get portioned off. And that's just insane. This has no regard for the power of an entrepreneur, right? Because
Mhm.
what they're completely underestimating is a guy like Elon Musk who just says, "I want to go to Mars."
Yeah.
He didn't ask permission to go to Mars. He didn't ask permission to build rockets. Didn't ask. Well, he could go get money from people that believed that he had the capacity to maybe pull this off, and and that he had the capacity along the way to make a lot of money from the things that he needs to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And he may or may not ever get to Mars. I wouldn't bet against him, but along the way, like he's created the Boring Company that's
Mhm.
going to end up being worth a lot of money. Starlink, which is going to be worth $1 trillion by itself. The robots that are going to be worth $1 trillion by themselves. The Tesla taxis that are going to be worth $1 trillion by themselves.
Mhm.
But all of these things you need robots and automated cars and tunnel drilling systems and satellite communication if you have any chance of actually colonizing Mars.
Yeah.
But yet we're going to use all those things on Earth and they're going to be worth trillions and trillions of dollars. But all of that has been born from the vision and the passion and the expertise and the determination and the heart of an entrepreneur.
Mm.
And that's true basically for all of America. The reason why America is so big and so powerful is because of the heart of 10,000 entrepreneurs, including our forefathers who
Yeah.
had the heart of entrepreneurs. Leave me alone. Don't tread on me.
Mhm.
Let me make my own life. I'll be fine. As long as you don't interfere, I'll figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
That's the heart of an entrepreneur. And that's what we want to set free because that is what actually creates massive amounts of wealth. And wealth isn't the goal, happiness is the goal. Building a beautiful life is the goal. But the way you get there as a country is you set your greatest minds, your greatest hearts free to run hard
Mm.
and far. And that doesn't come from socialism. That doesn't come from overtaxation. That doesn't come from overregulation. That doesn't come from top-down economies. No top-down economy produces an Elon Musk.
Yeah.
The Elon Musks abhor this. Not just the big Elons, all the little Elons, like
Yeah.
all the miniature versions of entrepreneurs abhor this. They want this. They want freedom.
Because it allows them to chase their ambitions.
It allows them to chase their dreams.
Yeah.
It allows them to chase their latest and greatest crazy idea. These are adventurers,
Hmm.
right? These people are looking for unclimbed mountains. These people are looking for uncharted waters.
Yeah.
They take pleasure in the unknown. This is fixed mindset.
Mm.
This is abundance, hope, joy. All the things Obama talks about, but has no ability to actually find.
Yeah.
Right? He's preaching hope in a fixed economy, right? But that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
This over here, everybody just fights for one pie that can't grow really,
Yeah.
fundamentally. Over here, you have infinity,
Hmm.
potential infinity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy to see what's going on, dude.
Yeah, I mean we're in a war,
Hmm.
full blown culture war. The left is at this point understands they've been outed. Right, from in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, they were, scurrying about the bureaucracies. They were scurrying about inside of politics, inside of education, inside of the legal system, um, frankly, inside of big corporations. I mean, they've infiltrated a lot of the big Fortune 500 companies and intertwined those companies with government contracts and government regulation
Yeah.
such that they move together in ways that weren't true 50 years ago.
Mm.
Um, and so, but they were laying all the groundwork while we just went about our happy lives, thinking we were free, thinking there was no danger in just being an American
Mm.
and following our bliss, whether that's like motorcycle bliss or boating bliss or hunting bliss or golfing bliss.
Yeah.
Like when I think of like
Enjoying life.
enjoying life,
Yeah.
right? We were enjoying life. They were infiltrating us.
Mm.
And that infiltration was seen publicly really for the first time. I mean, those of us that were academic and studying ideas could see it in the academy. You could see it inside of education far earlier.
Yeah.
But for a long time, it felt like the academy was detached from business. The academy was detached from power. But then the academy started to get connected to power.
Mm.
Again, largely through leftist ideology, progressivism, um, communist, socialist tie.
Yeah.
But with Obama, they started to come out of the woodwork, right? Because Obama started to put people in power who genuinely loved leftist ideas, genuinely loved communism, socialism, oligarchical communism.
Yeah.
I mean, however you want to try to describe that, because they, the elite call it progressivism. Um, the right, we call it communism because ultimately it's just suppression of the masses.
Mm.
Ultimately, it's a world where only a few people have real power, and there's not individual liberty to make whatever life you want. You only get to make the lives they deem acceptable. Just like when Macron was talking about free speech. What is this free speech? It's bullshit,
Mm.
right? Because he's like, who decides what's free speech? Like we do.
Yeah.
Well, he's missing the point because free speech isn't determined by anyone.
No.
It's just free,
Yeah.
right? So you don't get to not like what I say, or you can not like what I say, but you don't get to suppress it,
Yeah, exactly.
right? You don't get to punish it,
Yep.
right? You don't get to censor it.
You don't get to cause violence because of what I say, which
Uh,
is happening, I
y-
think, a
y-
lot right now.
yeah, no, I mean, violence is a different level, right? Like, let's just stick to speech,
Mm,
because remember, like, our Constitution condones violence.
yeah.
Our forefathers condone violence. In fact, they think it might be necessary at times.
But the
So,
Democratic Party doesn't.
well, the Democratic Party thinks violence is only for their own means,
Yes.
right? And and they want violence to be top down, whereas our forefathers wanted violence to be bottom up.
Mm,
Our forefathers wanted every American to be well armed and well trained in weapons of war, so that when necessary they could rise up.
from the people we will rise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Individually, we will rise.
Mm.
We band together in America. We band together as individuals.
And practically, we band together with leadership that we agree with, the representation that we didn't have back then. Correct. So we need leadership to lead like-minded people for this culture war, for in this endeavor of chasing back the American dream.
Well, I mean, we really need elected officials
Mm,
who care about the Constitution enough to protect it, and then call the people to rise up. The people really shouldn't be just like sitting back, waiting, going, "Okay, like we see this is all wrong, but is anybody going to tell us it's time to rise up?" If our forefathers were alive today, they would be in positions of power, and they'd be saying, "Rise up!
yeah,
It's time.
to
Tar and
fight like
feather,
hell.
fight like hell." We are taking all this back by force.
Yeah,
You are abusing the power. That is the truth. I think that is the truth of how our forefathers would respond to what's going on today. They would not be allowing the bullshit that is happening inside of politics. There is no place for a Bernie Sanders to have any power in Americanism.
yeah,
There is no place for AOC to have any power inside of Americanism. There's no place for Barack Obama to have any power inside of Americanism. There's no place for Gavin Newsom to have power inside of Americanism. There's plenty of room for them to exist as long as they don't try to institute socialistic communism.
mhm,
But the moment they try to institute socialistic communists, they are treasonous.
yeah,
This is not really up for debate. That's that's the part that's lacking over here in our leadership,
mm.
is we don't have anybody standing up and saying, "You realize the ideas that you were talking about are treasonous, anti-Americanism."
Give me some examples.
W- uh, Well, let's just start with um, when AOC talks about culture being thin. Like when
Mm,
she was over in Europe, she was talking about culture being thin. What she really means is white culture should be abolished, because she doesn't think her communist culture is thin. She thinks that's real. She thinks white Anglo Saxon American culture is disposable.
and you think that thought that she believes tracks through her entire party, leader in the leadership?
Yeah, I think it's without question. If you just like, we should put together a montage of
Mm,
all of the places where leftists have talked about the elimination of white people being good,
yeah,
the elimination of white people in any power being good, but without reason other than we want to be in charge. It's not because people should have individual liberty, right? Now, this system of people deserving individual liberty was indeed born out of white European Protestantism.
mm,
Now, I'm not a Protestant, but I give credit to the Protestant. I've been a Protestant in my
mm,
life, but Protestantism was born from the Martin Luther belief that you could interact with God as an individual and that you could count on that as enough.
And you believe that?
I believe that you can interact with God as an individual and you can count on that as enough. I do believe that because I believe that fundamentally the spirituality that we're called to is the spirituality of Abraham.
Mm,
And the spirituality of Abraham didn't have priests, didn't have Bibles, didn't have infrastructure.
mm,
Uh, it was just a man in the desert
yeah.
talking to God. So that is, I believe, the foundation. Now, am I grateful to have 4,000 years of Abrahamic tradition? I am.
Hmm.
Am I glad to have the Old Testament and all the stories of these people interacting with God and how they did it? I am. Am I glad to have the New Testament and to have the written records of the life of Christ, the incarnate life of Christ, and the teachings of Jesus? Am I grateful to have those gospels written down? I am.
Mm.
Am I grateful that there's been a church for 2,000 years that has been carrying on the traditions of the early church and able to give that to me? I am. But all of that is
What
only
church is that?
helpful. What's that?
What church is that?
Well, I'm Greek Orthodox, right?
Mm,
So I believe that the Orthodox fundamentally still represent the closest thing we have to what the early church looked like
mm,
and the early church practices and the early church beliefs that have held fast for 2,000 years. Now, I'm not saying that the Orthodox have the fullness of truth necessarily. Like, I think that's a difficult thing to ascertain.
mm,
And I'm not saying that the Catholics or the Protestants don't know God, because I don't believe that's true. I believe that you can know God in any of these traditions. But if you are studying the traditions themselves, I think some are just um, closer to the spirit of Jesus than others.
mm,
Now, again, I don't think you need the church to know God. But if I'm given more infrastructure over less, that's usually helpful. Just like most of us would like to come from good families.
yeah.
Most of us would like to come from emotionally healthy families, wealthy families, that put us in a position where we didn't have to worry about money and we didn't have to recover from trauma.
Mm,
Well, most of us don't come from that.
yeah.
But if we could come from that, or if we could give that to our children, we would do it. If the church isn't functioning like that, then it's not functioning well.
Mm,
And all I would argue is that of all the churches in existence, the Orthodox Church is the closest thing to the least traumatic, spiritually wealthiest heritage.
mm,
And so you have the least likelihood of having a spiritual trauma
yeah.
coming out of the Orthodox Church. Whereas like almost everybody I know who grows up spiritually in Protestantism, grows up spiritually in Catholicism, has to overcome a lot of Protestant trauma, Catholic trauma to still know God,
Mm,
right? Again, I'm not saying that the Orthodox family doesn't have its own trauma. Probably does. Just like rich families have their own trauma, rich, well, emotionally regulated families still have their own trauma. Those traumas are probably just less
yeah.
than if you grow up poor and in a totally chaotic family,
Mm,
right? Those traumas are greater to overcome. And I think that the traumas that come out of Protestantism and the traumas that come out of Catholicism are greater than the traumas that come out of Orthodoxy.
mm,
Um, but Protestantism still birthed Americanism.
yeah.
Without the Protestant notions that came out of the Reformation, we wouldn't have the America we have. We wouldn't have the Constitution we have. And I love all that. I think it is quintessentially and wonderfully Christian.
Mm,
I think it is the greatest political system for an entrepreneur to live in, right? A world that values my freedom above what If I'm the only one standing and everyone else is against me in Americanism, I'm free to do that. And that right should be protected.
Mhm.
That is gorgeous to an entrepreneur because we've lived our lives contrary to popular opinion. We lived our lives contrary to what other people thought was possible, and we were free to do it.
Yeah.
But you see, the most entrepreneurs and the greatest entrepreneurship all comes out of America because of that box.
Mm. So with all of that, what do you think? Because the beginning of our conversation, there's a lot of depressing news for some, right? We
Mhm.
are in a war
We are in a
and
full-blown
nobody
culture war.
recognizes it.
Yeah.
This is a war. And
Mhm.
we're fighting battles every day.
It's existential for the soul of the country.
Where's the hope? Where
I
do
mean,
we need to draw hope to? Where does the what is the motivating encouragement? Like what do we need to do to win this war that we are in? Now that we have realized that, holy crap, we're fighting battles every day.
well, Christianity has been in a culture war for 2,000 years.
Mhm.
So this isn't new, right? This is biblical.
Yeah.
This is straight out of the New Testament about what's happening every day in your own soul,
Mhm.
let alone in your own community or your own country. And so the great hope and the great despair are a daily occurrence, a daily choice. C.S. Lewis, his sermon he gave, "The Weight of Glory," maybe the greatest piece of his writing.
Mhm.
I think it's only like 9 pages, but probably like a 45-minute read, 45-minute sermon. And he talks about how we're on the razor's edge of heaven and hell. And what he means by that is all of our choices culminate in either the creation of the kingdom of heaven or the creation of hell.
Mm.
And those things are simultaneously existing on our planet as we speak. There are people who are living gorgeous, amazing, beautiful, heavenly lives that are functionally the kingdom of heaven.
Mm.
And every day we should be choosing that. We should be trying to move toward it. It's hard. It's hard because we live in a world that has so much muck, right? The muck can feel like we're walking and the muck is up to our thighs. And I'm like, how am I ever going to get to my destination? Like I can barely lift my leg.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that these are easy, but you say, where is the hope? The hope is that the kingdom of heaven is real.
Mhm.
The kingdom of heaven is achievable on earth, just as hell is achievable on earth. And the places we see that are hellish, we say that is not the way it should be. And the places we see that are heavenly, we say that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
This is the truth. This is the way. So when we experience love, that's the hope of this is the way. This is what life should be like. When we experience the terror of being alone, when we experience the terrors of trauma, the terrors of abuse, the answer isn't my life is shit. The answer is this is not the way it should be.
Mm.
We find our way out. We find our way out believing that we can leave behind the traumas that abused us, that we can leave behind the patterns that held us down, that we can leave behind the cultures that are abusive, and we can find our way into the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God is ruled by Jesus as a king.
Mm.
And as we talked about at the beginning, if you have a benevolent king, now you have a world that is free for flourishing. So, in the benevolent dictatorship that is the kingdom of God, where Christ is the king, we flourish. And all our human dreams can actually be realized. Our human emotional dreams, relational dreams, imaginative dreams, entrepreneurial dreams, adventurous dreams,
Mm.
peaceful dreams. Some people dream of just the peace of no conflict. Other people dream of uncharted waters.
Yeah.
But both of those are part of heaven. Because God is clearly an adventurer. You can't look across the universe and argue with me that God is not adventurous or that God does not take pleasure in creation.
Mm,
I have a good friend named Ken Boa who's a theologian,
mm.
and he is obsessed with God's obsession with beetles
Okay.
because there are like 10,000 types of beetles on the earth.
Yeah.
And the variation is unbelievable. Like he has a whole collection of beetle pictures and beetle um, fragments. Just
Yeah.
like the beetle world. And inside of this beetle world, he will
Mhm.
say, "What kind of a God do we have that he cares about the smile of this beetle?
Hmm.
That he cares about the claw of this beetle? That he cares about the antenna of this beetle? The variation of beetle is unbelievable." And that's just beetles. We have billions of stars. So, what kind of a God runs this universe?
Mm.
An imaginative, fun loving, adventurous God. That's the hope.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's the hope is that God did not send the evil. God does not want the evil. But for some reason, man had to be given enough power to participate in both heaven and hell in order for heaven to even be possible. I don't totally, I've studied this for 30 years
Mhm.
and I can't say I've solved it,
Yeah.
but I believe it to be true. I believe it to be true that man was necessarily needed to be given a massive amount of power for heaven to even be possible.
Mhm.
But for heaven to even be possible, that power could result in hell.
Mm.
And I think we see that played out every day on earth. And if we believe that and we see that and we understand that, now we can deal with hell and still have hope because we actually believe this exists. We know why this exists, but we believe this also can exist. And if we every time we get little tastes of this, whatever it is, if you go to a place where the ocean is open and clean and beautiful and you're in the middle of nowhere, you're dealing with no problems, and in that moment you're like, this is heaven.
Mhm.
I'm tasting heaven. I'm seeing heaven. I'm living heaven. Same can be relationally. You could experience something like where you truly feel seen, known, loved by your parent or by your sibling or by your girlfriend or by your children or by someone. Like if one person on the entire planet can make you feel seen, you taste heaven.
Mm.
You experience heaven. And what that is that you are intended to be seen and known and adored by God. But those little crumbs lead us there. And the thing about heaven is you weren't intended to just be there with God, you're intended to be there with a lot of other people.
Mhm.
The marriage supper of the Lamb is a long table. It's very exclusive, very strict no assholes policy. That table will be long
Mm.
and it will be glorious. Imagine a world where there are no assholes. Pretty magical.
Yeah. That sounds like heaven.
It's exactly right. So, what is the hope? That's the hope.
Mhm.
That is what we're striving for. We are striving to put a table. This is my field out here. We are striving to put a table across that field that is filled with no assholes. That can be that at the end of the day can be a feasting and an enjoyment. That is what God wants for us. And that's what we should want too.
For America?
For America, like I mean, America should be if America is flourishing, it is a table that stretches from New York to LA
Mhm.
with a very strict no assholes policy and abundance across the table. But the kind of people that you find yourself wanting, you're like, I got to get it. I need to go to Nebraska. I need to go eat at the table, the portion of the table that is Nebraska.
Yeah.
I want to know those people. I know they must be amazing because God wouldn't allow anybody here that wasn't awesome,
Mhm.
that wasn't worth knowing, that wasn't the kind of person that would make me feel alive and that I would make them feel alive, that they could see me and I could see them.
You think it's attainable for America?
All this is hard in a world that has so much brokenness, corruption,
Mhm.
bad ideas, demons. I mean, remember, we're fighting demons.
Mhm.
So, is it attainable? Absolutely. We should be living every day as if it's attainable, and we should be trying to build lives as if it's attainable. Is it easy? No. And I don't know why God didn't make it easy. But again, it goes back to something about the amount of power that was necessary to make heaven possible,
Mhm.
right? To make it possible for us to become partakers in the divine nature, to make it possible for us to actually fellowship with the Trinitarian God. To make that possible required giving us a level of power that was dangerous. And God chose to do that.
Mhm.
That gives me incredible hope about the heart of God,
Yeah.
that God would choose to do that. But it doesn't make it easy when that power is being abused, right?
Mhm.
If you're reading the Epstein situation, that's the power being abused. The way they talk about uh, their abuse of these kids, that is just demonic.
Yeah.
Is demonic infiltration. Now, we live in that world. We live in a world where right now, this very day, there are people who are enslaved, sexually enslaved, children who are being sexually abused, children who are being cooked and eaten.
Mhm.
That's happening in the world
Yeah.
by terrible demons. And yet, we also live in a world where I guarantee you, somewhere on earth is heaven. Right now, somebody is experiencing almost the fullness of heaven and probably the presence of God.
Mm.
And that's all happening right here. And if we just get the slightest glimpse, it should be able to drive us home,
Mm.
right? Help us, see true north.
Do you think with everything that we're seeing, with the leadership that we currently have, with the midterms coming up,
Hmm.
do you think there are candidates out there like yourself
Hmm.
to make that difference?
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I could actually make a difference in the long term. I mean, obviously, I don't think I'm going to get elected and go to Congress and like fix Congress
Mhm.
like in an instant. That's not what needs to happen. What needs to happen is people like me for whom politics is a hobby
Mm.
need to congregate in Washington and make politics a hobby for our country.
Yeah.
Because if we're doing politics right, it's not a full time job. We were given too good of a foundation,
I mean, just like back then, I mean, they had regular jobs,
as
our
they
founding
should.
fathers.
Like we have lives to lead. We got to figure out how to pay for our families. If you're a professional politician, you're fundamentally a socialist
Yeah.
because you don't make your own money. You're dependent on all of those of us who actually make real money, who actually create wealth
Mhm.
to pay your bills. Well, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
That's not how this should function.
Not at
Now,
all.
I'm not opposed to paying politicians well because it's a sacrifice for business guys to spend any time in Washington because unless you're corrupt, there's no money in it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then let's account for that time in a way that allows somebody like me to give the time. I'm okay with that. I want more guys like me.
Mhm.
I want to recruit Xavier's X-Men Academy for mutants,
Yeah.
right? I want talent. The only way we create change is with real talented people. I fundamentally believe that most politicians are untalented.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So, one of the fundamental things we have to change, and one of the fundamental things I'll seek to change, is not necessarily like Congress from the inside out. I will seek to change that. But
Mhm.
what I really think is what I can do is I can create more systems to recruit people like me,
Mm,
fund people like me that maybe aren't wealthy, like they can't self-fund. But I find somebody who is a retired fireman
mm,
who loves America, and I say, "Come be a congressman." Well, I don't have the money. Don't worry about it. We got you.
yeah.
Like, we'll take care of that. But we need good guys who had the real lives. You're 60 years old. You've
Mm.
lived a whole life. You've raised kids.
Still sharp.
Still sharp,
Yeah.
but you have lots of life experience to now be in a position to actually do good things as a congressman,
Yeah.
which frankly, it doesn't require that much if you're just following the Constitution.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to keep the status quo, which is individual liberty,
Mm,
then it's not that complicated to be a politician. But if you're a professional politician and that's all you've done your whole life, like you're going to lose sight of that
yeah.
because you're going to think that it's about your money and your power. And that's just not what it's about.
Mm,
Money and power should be made elsewhere besides politics. But bad politics lead to an inability to have money and power,
yeah.
right? Because they fundamentally steal it.
Yeah.
The politicians will steal your money and your power if we don't show up and make sure they don't do that.
They take advantage of their power to make more money.
They just
I.e. the
abuse,
traits, the stock market and all of that stuff. They know
they
these things are coming out
they
and
fundamentally abuse their power, they abuse their information
for personal gain.
for personal gain
Yeah.
and personal power.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about leftist stuff.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They're the leftists are fundamentally parasites on the economic system. You know, they're parasites on the economic system.
Do you think the rhinos are similar in that way?
I think a lot of the rhinos are just professional politicians, so they've stopped realizing what their real job is,
Yeah.
and they've fallen into the trap of being part of a basically like a socialist cabal,
Yeah. A
uh,
uniparty.
a uniparty at least in politics,
Mm.
like they recognize like, well, this is my job. So they're more concerned about protecting their job than protecting your individual liberty.
Do you think that we can, because Trump kind of did this, right? He fundamentally changed the Republican Party.
Fundamentally changed. Mhm.
Like, but it's not working in the way that I would expect. It's not working as if it was a whole new party.
Well, the
So,
problem is it's not a whole new party yet.
yeah.
So Trump needs more real warriors who understand what we're trying to do, understand what he's trying to do,
Top to bottom,
top to bottom.
bottom up, yeah,
And
all of
so
it.
he's right now fighting the swamp.
Mhm.
Think about how much how much severe, tragic for them, tragic for the other side, just the infliction of pain and suffering
Mm,
that Trump has caused is wonderful. Like, he has caused real damage to the leftist infrastructure. It's awesome.
mm,
Like what he did to USAID, amazing. Do it again 100 times,
yeah,
right? Um, we need to deport every illegal. Well, they're trying to get in the way of that, right? So they're trying to make ICE's job more difficult. Well, that's fundamentally wrong. But think about how much progress he's made in only 12 months.
yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Shockingly amazing how much progress he's made in
I
12
think
months.
it's what makes it amazing, though, is the progress under pressure, under
Agreed.
a c constant this war that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, listen, he is a battle-tested warrior.
Mhm,
He has seen everything they could throw at him. They've tried to bankrupt him, they've tried to discredit him, they've tried to put him in jail, they tried to kill him. I mean,
yeah,
and they would do that to every single American if they could. They would do that to every single conservative if they could. And the next time, if God forbid they ever have power again, but the next time they have power, it will look like gulags.
yeah,
It will be digital gulags trying to stuff you in a box. There will be actual gulags where they try to like brainwash you and or break you. That is the truth of what the leftists want. And you can find that all over the internet of them talking about this
yeah,
in various snippets. Like, you know, they don't have the power levels they'd like,
yeah,
but now their old subversive power is getting undermined. So now they're going to a little more aggressive call for oppression, hoping that maybe that helps rise their base. I'm not sure. I don't think they actually have enough of a base in America without lying, cheating, and stealing.
Yeah.
So I think if we do get like the SAVE Act really passed and implemented, again, passed and implemented, right? A
Mhm.
law is only as good as its enforcement.
Yeah.
But passed and implemented, I don't know if they ever win another major election.
And then also on top of that, the immigration. If we get the illegal immigration situation figured out, they're going to lose a lot of seats.
Well, that's all what I think of as their flywheel of fraud.
Yeah.
So when they realized that they could import voters
Mhm.
and then stash them uh, in concentrated places to accumulate power and voting blocks, that was a game changer, and I think that's Obama. I
Mm.
think Obama is the one who really understood that, saw that, and started to implement that. If you could trace it back,
Mhm.
there wasn't as much of it happening, if at all. I mean, like in the 90s and early 2000s, the Democrats thought the Republicans were importing cheap labor and it was hurting labor parties.
Mm.
And that was back when labor parties voted with the Dems,
Yeah.
right? So the Dems only care about you if you're helping them.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're doing republicanism right, we care about everybody's individual liberty,
Yeah.
right? But as the Dems abandoned the labor unions and Trump and JD were like, "Oh no, labor matters." And the Labor Party and the laborers started to realize that this party cared more about their freedoms, cared about more about their lives.
Mhm.
Then they lost the labor. Well, when they lost labor unions, now they need a new voter constituency. And so immigrants and illegal immigrants didn't matter as long as they can get voter blocks. However, they get voter blocks.
Yeah.
So if illegals are getting counted in the census, then they can get more power.
Mhm.
And then they just have to figure out how to get voting blocks, illegal or illegal,
Mhm.
right? However, they're getting the votes, they don't care as long as they're getting power.
Do you think a good policy would be to in the census? I don't know exactly how the census works. Maybe you can explain it if you're familiar.
Well, right now, if you're, it doesn't matter if you're legal or illegal. If you're in that area, you're counted in the census.
Yeah.
But again, like if you're doing voter ID right,
Mm.
it's pretty easy. You only count in the census people who vote,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't have a voter ID, you don't count in the census. Like, I'm not trying to get
Mm.
your voter ID should be your proof of citizenship.
Yeah.
So if you are not a proven citizen, you should not be counted in the census. This is common sense.
Yeah.
So and now these voter IDs should be free. Okay. Like I've
Yeah.
heard people say, oh, well, it's expensive to get a passport. Well, make it free.
Yeah.
Like we clearly have trillions of dollars to waste, which
Yeah.
I don't want us to waste, but we clearly have plenty of money that we can say your citizen ID is free. Just like I don't think do we pay for driver's licenses?
Yeah.
We do?
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
Renewals and all that stuff.
I am totally fine with the government paying for your ID. Maybe the first one. Or maybe
I don't
or
think
may,
we pay the federal government. We pay our state.
sure, but I mean they're you're paying for like some of the cost. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is maybe every 2 years you can get a free ID, but if you lose it, you gotta pay
Yeah. There's
30
some
bucks.
personal
You gotta pay the
responsibility
cost.
there.
You gotta pay the cost. There's some personal responsibility. You can't just like, overwhelm the system because if we make them free, then the Dems will have all
Could
their
take
people
advantage of it.
applying all the time to try to bankrupt the system and overwhelm the system. They
Yeah.
always game the system. So
Yeah.
you have to build systems that have rules that account for their heinous ideologies
Yeah.
and
Practices.
ludicrous games.
Yeah.
So but I am willing to say that the first ID for sure should be free,
Mhm.
and maybe you get a free one every 2 years. Like if you need a new one, okay, fine. That is the least of my concerns, right? If you think the disenfranchisement is the cost of an ID, then that's let's get rid of that poll tax
Yeah.
and make sure that people can get a free ID.
Yeah. I mean, what's good about this administration is there's a ton of tariff money coming in. A ton of tariff money coming
Ton
in.
of tariff money.
And
But
so this
listen,
could be used for that.
the amount of revenue at the federal level is obscene.
Yeah.
Obscene. There's plenty of money. Okay. Now, too much. Like we're overtaxed
Yeah.
in this country. We're overtaxed because the progressives like control and they think of taxation and political power as their business.
Mm.
Their business is taxation, and they're good
And
at it.
that's theft
It's theft.
completely.
Theft. The way they do it is theft.
Because explain why.
Well, again, fundamentally, um, the number one priority of the entire government in America should be individual liberty of its citizens.
Mhm.
And in a world that individual liberty reigns supreme, you can't just tax. Tax, 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 tax. If you now a government needs to run, so you got to find money somewhere. Tariffs,
Mhm.
great place to find money. Taxation, I'm not opposed to taxation like on its face. I just want taxation to be voluntary in the sense that if you want to put a 50% tax on a Ferrari as a luxury tax,
Yeah.
fine. I don't have to buy a Ferrari.
Yeah.
That's a discretionary purchase. But you can't tax food. Maybe you can tax restaurants because you don't have to go to a restaurant.
Mhm.
But like grocery store food should not be taxed. It's just not right.
What about property?
Property should not be taxed. Commercial property, maybe. Like
Mm.
I'm open to some sort of commercial property taxation, as long as again, like it's taxation with representation. We want good infrastructure. You want good business, you want good infrastructure. So somehow that infrastructure has to be paid for,
Yeah.
and you have to decide like, am I going to let people become road developers and let them tax on those roads?
Mm.
If I don't like that, well then I need some sort of like general taxation to pay for those roads.
Mm.
All right. Well, I don't think any of us in business would be opposed to paying for roads. I'm just opposed to paying taxes that go to graft and corruption.
Yeah.
I want actual benefit for my taxation. And so if the taxation is tied to things that I can choose to participate in or not participate in, like I don't have to own a commercial property,
It's personal liberty.
personal liberty. But like my farm, I should not be paying taxes on.
Mm.
To own my own land. Like
Yeah.
the
You
go
already
I'm
paid
not
for it.
I like the entire United States should not be a land lease from the government.
Mhm.
That is crazy, right? I should be able to own something that is mine
As
that
an
you
American
can't come
citizen,
take.
not as the Chinese government.
Not as the Chinese guy. I should not be
As an
worried about
American
the
citizen.
government coming down and like just taking all my shit.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking crazy.
Mm.
So I'm open to some to tax forms that feel like there's some real representation and real freedom attached to them.
What do you think about income tax?
It's not again, that's not a discretionary tax. I don't have
Mhm.
any ability to say I don't want to pay that, so I won't do that.
You think we should be forced to pay income tax?
No, God, no. I think that is a leftist uh, business.
That's the theft.
Okay, it's that.
I worked
Yeah,
for this money.
right.
It's mine.
The fact that the leftists have created a system
Yeah.
that takes your money automatically, and if you don't pay it, can send you to jail
Yeah.
is crazy. Totally crazy and corrupt.
Mhm.
Everyone knows this. But it's become so normalized that we're just happy to just pay that. We're not happy, but we don't know how to get out of the slave tax.
Yeah. You can't check a box saying, "I don't wanna pay this." You know?
Yeah, you can't. You know.
It's auto.
Well, it's because you're a slave.
Comes out of the pay
They
system.
you
Yeah.
pay or you go to jail.
Mhm.
Broken, broken system, un-American system.
Yeah.
That may be okay in a uh, progressive oligarchy of Europe, but in America, where individual liberty should reign supreme,
Yeah.
just not okay. It's just not the way. It's not that you can unwind it immediately. Like you have to. These things aren't. You can't. It's hard to unwind this stuff.
Yeah.
But should it be unwound? Absolutely, it should be unwound. There needs to be better systems of taxation that allow me as an individual to self-regulate where I'm paying taxes.
Mm.
And I should not be taxed on where I live. Like I should be able to actually own something.
Mhm.
And I should not be taxed just because I go make money.
And all of this should be at the federal level.
All of this should be sacrosanct at the federal.
Explain that word for those who don't
Sacrosanct
know.
just means it's circled and says you cannot fuck with this,
Yeah,
right? Like it's like a sacred cow,
just like the
right?
Constitution.
The Constitution is sacrosanct. If
Yeah.
you're American, if you actually believe in Americanism, the Constitution should be sacrosanct.
And what do you think about amendments in that? Do you think those are sacrosanct too?
Yes. I mean, do I think every amendment that we've added has been healthy? Maybe not.
Mhm.
But do I think the amendments that they gave us out of the gate should never be fucked with? Absolutely, they should
Mhm.
never be fucked with. Just like what Virginia's doing in with guns right now is
Mhm.
completely anti-constitutional.
Yeah.
And if we have a good Supreme Court, the Supreme Court will tell them this is unconstitutional. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason the Supreme Court exists is just to tell people that they can't do that,
Yeah.
right?
But when you have people appointed in go ahead.
Yeah, but if you have people in the Supreme Court, which thank God right this second we don't, it doesn't seem like, but you don't know for sure. But if you have
Mhm.
people that are Supreme Court justices who don't fundamentally don't believe the Constitution is sacrosanct, or that the Constitution is even like interpretable, or that we have no idea what our forefathers actually meant this to mean,
Mhm.
like they're the wrong people to be adjudicating,
Yeah.
right? As a branch of government that's supposed to be balance of powers, because their only role is to protect the Constitution.
Yeah.
They're just supposed to protect. Actually, their only role is to protect the individual by protecting the Constitution, because the Constitution is supposed to be the protection to the individual.
The American citizen.
Yeah, the American citizen. Now,
Mhm.
the Second Amendment was intended to be the citizens' protection of the rights enshrined in the Constitution.
Mm.
Because what happens if the legislative branch goes rogue? What happens if the president goes rogue? What happens if the judicial branch goes rogue? You have an armed, well armed, weapons of war citizenry
Mhm.
to protect the Constitution. It's a fourth branch of government.
Yeah.
Why isn't this being taught? That's what our forefathers wanted. Our forefathers wanted basically every grown man to be in a militia, only so that the federal government would feel the heat of honoring the Constitution.
Yeah. Militias are looked down upon on both
They
parties, both
right now
sides.
they're looked down upon because they put pressure on political power, judicial power, executive power to actually honor the Constitution,
Mm.
which ultimately just means to honor your individual rights,
Yeah.
honor my individual rights. My individual liberty and your individual liberty is the number one purpose of the entire government system if you follow the Americanism our forefathers gave us.
Mhm.
When was the last time you heard that?
I didn't hear it in school, that's for sure.
Mm-mm.
In this school that I had to go to, public school.
Well, the problem is if they teach that, what I just said, then you automatically know that progressive liberalism, oligarchical liberalism is un-American.
Yeah.
Period. Y- Oh, okay. Let me learn about it. Oh, you can't do that in America, can you? Because of the Constitution. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go do that somewhere else. Now, in Europe, there's lots of places that don't have a constitution like ours, that don't respect individual liberty,
Mhm.
and France might be one of them. Ironically, the land of the French Revolution,
Mhm.
they might actually not protect the rights of the individual, and that might be a place where oligarchical progressivism is acceptable.
Talking about
So
these.
if you like that, then go to France.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. And in that, what would your foreign policy positions be? How does America implement their will and way to the rest of the
Well, I don't think it's our
countries?
job to implement our will on other people, but it is our job to have enough strength that we can demand our own peace.
Mm. Our own
So
personal liberty.
yeah, so just like the Second Amendment is so critical for individual liberty inside of America, a strong military, and our forefathers understood this because it was one of the things they put in the Constitution about what it is a government should be doing. The common defense is essential because without the common defense, which is the Second Amendment for the country,
Mm,
then we can't demand our peace. It's peace through strength.
yeah.
So, like, I have no problem with what Trump did in Venezuela because if they truly deem, now I wasn't part of the conversations, I'm not like inside knowledge of all the data and all the information, but let's just assume that they looked at it and they said, if we allow Venezuela to keep going down this road, then our enemies may gain a foothold that would put us in danger.
So close to our borders.
Right. So if that is true, if we are making decisions about what puts us in danger
Mhm,
or what on the converse, what keeps us free,
mm.
then we have to make decisions that keep us free. That is fundamentally necessary because if an outside force is strong and wants to conquer us and does so, then our Constitution means nothing.
Yeah.
Our liberties are wiped out. And so we have to be in a position where we can stand up to bullies.
And standing up to bullies, what does that mean to you?
It just means that we can say no.
Yeah.
Right? It's again no different than the Second Amendment. Like
Mm,
we have the Second Amendment inside our country so that the individual has enough strength to say no to a corrupt government.
mm,
But the only way that happens is if you actually have weapons of war that can cause harm.
mm.
Because nobody wants to die. None of us want to die.
So you think because of what do you think about automatic weapons? You think we should have the right to own automatic weapons?
I think we should have the right to own anything that the military owns, maybe apart from nuclear weapons,
Yeah.
right? Like if our government is willing to use nuclear weapons against its own people, then like we're really, really lost. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like if they're willing to use really any of the military against us, we're really, really lost. But at least we have a chance.
Mm,
Like we need to have enough weapons of war that we can inflict enough pain on on a corrupt army that they might give up. Period. Like we have to be able to defend ourselves. We have to be able to have the kind of weapons that allow us to say no to corruption.
so you think militia should be able to own everything that an army would own?
Yeah, basically, like what we really, I mean, if we were doing that again, if we were doing this right and
Mm,
educating our populace right, then part of your education would look kind of like Marine boot camp,
mm,
right? You would grow up with weapons. You would be around weapons. You would be trained in these weapons. You would be trained in the same weapons that you might have to go serve in if you were drafted into the military.
yeah.
But you might even be issued those weapons when you turn 18.
Mm,
Like as an American citizen, you
yeah.
might be issued weapons and trained in weapons, and you might be assigned to a militia. Like freedom, like a free, like you could choose not to participate, I guess, like
Yeah.
because I don't want to conscript you into a militia,
Yeah.
but like there should be very clear militias by geography that people can find if they want to maintain their skills, right?
Mm,
So so if we were doing Americanism right, we would always be preparing the citizenry for the possibility that the government could be corrupted.
mm.
And we would allow them to have the weapons that would actually be effective against a corrupt government if it came to that problem. And in addition, now we have a massive standing army. We make ourselves from a national defense standpoint basically impossible to invade
Yeah.
because we'd have the largest army by millions and millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah. It's not just people that enlist into the military that are a threat. It's the people themselves,
Citizens, every
the
citizen
American
should be a
citizens.
threat to anyone who wants to destroy Americanism.
Yeah, if they want to. Yeah, their
They
freedom.
should be trained to where they can be an effective threat.
Mhm.
And they should have the weapons necessary to be an effective threat.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
mean, I'm not making anything up. I mean, this is literally from our forefathers.
Yeah,
This
but
is
it's
what they
unheard
want.
of. The
It's not
all of
talked about.
it's never talked about.
Yeah.
Like, that is a part of the entire conversation that on foreign policy or on, um, protecting our borders. It
Mm,
really frustrates me as somebody who wants that for myself, to
yeah.
be able to be an effective
Mhm.
patriot for the Constitution of the United
Mhm.
States,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And my generation, I feel like we're so far removed from this whole conversation in terms of nobody's really paying attention because nobody has the hope that
Mhm.
this could be saved. They think
Mhm.
it's dead in the water, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm. Well, it's
And
definitely not dead in the water.
yeah.
Uh, it, there's still America is too big, vast, open, um, and unruly, culturally unruly,
Mm,
for it to be lost. The bigger problem is that you have like you're talking about generations that feel little to no hope.
yeah.
You've got that, and then you just have a whole bunch of people, and of which I was one of them,
Mhm.
that are clueless about the real threat of the left.
Yeah.
They don't really understand like that Americanism could be lost. They don't really understand that their liberty could disappear like that.
Mm,
They don't really understand, like, people like me, like, the left wants to destroy people like me and will. They've tried to destroy me spiritually, they've tried to destroy me economically, they've tried to destroy my family, they've tried to destroy my reputation, they've tried to destroy my wealth.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, and I've seen how heinous it is.
And the funny thing is a lot of people have seen it happen to them during the pandemic, during the COVID
They
issues.
got a
They got a
glimpse.
glimpse of it, but they didn't do anything about it, right?
Correct. Well, because again, like, uh, they haven't been taught civics enough to even know where to begin.
Mm,
And frankly, like I look at it, I'm like, I don't have a militia.
mhm,
Like I'm not part of a militia. I probably should be,
mhm.
right? But how do I organize a militia?
Yeah,
Well, like these skills are even like, uh, you have to think through. Like I need to go study like what my militia rights are,
yeah,
right? And then I need to figure out how to organize a militia.
mhm,
And then that needs to happen well, the fact that that's nowhere to be found,
yeah,
except for, like, in what's now considered fringe extremist groups,
yeah,
even though it's like a core Americanism, tells you how infiltrated our education system is.
yeah,
That I've been a, conservative my whole life. I just was a conservative that believed that there was a center and believed that there were well-meaning Democrats. And while I still believe there are well-meaning Democrats, I think the Democratic ideas are heinous.
yeah,
And now I realize that the leaders of the Democratic Party actually want to destroy America.
mhm,
So, but if you're still in that place where you think that there's like a common ground, that's just false. Because the infiltration of the left is the goal is to fundamentally erode all of this Americanism that is supposed to be bright lines. Um, and weapons of war are bright lines. That is not something that's allowed to be touched
mm,
if you wanna maintain Americanism. For people that don't care about Americanism, which is all the left, then they wanna destroy guns because that is a fundamental aspect. Having a strong, well-trained, armed citizenry is a major deterrent
yeah,
to the kind of things that the left wants to ultimately, implement.
yeah. I feel like there's a lot of young men out there, within my generation and younger, the coming up generation that want that type of community as well,
Mhm. Need it.
that
You
don't
need that.
have any community around them.
Yeah, I agree
And I
with
think a
that.
lot of that has to do with everybody being on social media and stuck in the house, for the period of the pandemic and getting used to that
Yeah.
because it lasted for so long. There was no 2 weeks,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that is something that can bring community to these younger men is looking towards what the founding fathers wrote about
Mhm.
and created and um, actually organizing and living by that lifestyle that they envisioned.
Well, we need to create a national militia system.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Sounds like fun though.
Sounds like fun. I mean, it sounds like necessary fun.
Yeah.
So we should spend.
Necessary fun is a good way to put that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We should figure out a way. We should figure out a way to organize that. Think it through what it would look like,
yeah,
you know. Like I talked about, it's really the fourth branch of government,
mm,
right? Is the Second Amendment and that militia system behind it,
yeah,
that sees itself as the defenders of liberty, the defenders of individual liberty. Again, like the left totally abuses the notion of liberty. The left abuses all these notions.
yeah,
But if fundamentally everybody understood that the only purpose of this militia was to be the defenders of the Constitution, and the reason we're defending the Constitution is because of individual liberty.
mhm. It's to get ahead of that type
Mhm.
of conversation,
Mhm.
because that conversation we'll probably get attacked a ton for that, to say that that is the fourth branch of the government. And
I mean, it's not a, again, I like,
I
if you're attacking that, you're attacking George Washington. You're
exactly,
attacking Thomas Jefferson.
completely agree. But for the arguments that they'll come up with, I could come up with a
But it
couple
doesn't
off the top of
matter.
my
Like,
mind.
it's not even something to argue about. Like, this is fundamentally American. Like,
Yeah,
it's fundamental. The fact that it doesn't exist would drive our forefathers crazy.
yeah,
Remember, the American Revolution was as much about the American militia
mhm.
as it was about the Continental Army.
What authority would they have? I think that would probably be the biggest thing to answer.
Well, you can't have a parallel army, like it,
Mhm,
so it can't have like that levels of leadership. It's all like these militias are micro units. And that's what we need to study. We need to figure out like what's legal. I know there's
mhm.
like parameters around militias
Yeah,
and what they can or can't do, but we need to figure out what that is, and then teach everybody what they can or can't do, and then teach them how to do it.
yeah, and create a system for that,
Create a system
teaching
for that,
yeah,
right? Because I should be able to very easily, with the day I wake up as an American, to say, why am I not trained in militia work?
mhm,
Why do I not have weapons of war? I need a place to turn and say, what weapons should I buy, and how do I train, and how can I be helpful to this militia?
and that militia could not just be as an enforcement, but could be a force of, um, uh, I don't know what the term would be, service or help in a
It is
disaster or
service.
something like that.
It is like national service. Like if
Yeah.
again, if you're doing this stuff right.
But to kind of put it in the framework, like a part of it could be as if it were like a FEMA, where like a national disaster would happen, weather disaster or something, and
Mhm,
the militias around that community could come together and help out.
mhm.
If they were well funded.
Absolutely. But again, it's like at their own discretion.
Exactly.
But it's a fraternity,
Yeah.
right? So it's a good militia should also be a good fraternity.
Mhm.
So it'd be kind of like having a football team
Yeah.
that you were a part of, but as an adult. So like the amount of time you give might be like being in the reserves.
Mm.
Like it might be 1 to 2 days a month,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe everybody gathers. But again, these militias have to be tight enough that everybody can drive there in less than 30 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe an hour on the outside,
Yeah.
right? So you need enough of them that they're interspersed. Um,
And they have discussions about, I'm sure that during these 1 to 2 days that they meet,
mhm.
they have discussions about the state of the country,
Civics.
civics.
Hmm.
They have intellectual conversations about what's happening around
Hmm.
them,
Hmm.
in their neighborhoods,
Hmm.
in their communities, and they also train
Have to.
to defend.
Well, and the thing is that a well-run militia would also have like an element of it that would be like CrossFit,
Mm,
right? Where there might be some training elements that you're doing on your own,
yeah,
but they're at least guiding you.
yeah,
Like, hey, these are the kind of things we need to be able to do as a militia. You need to be able to run a mile.
mm,
I need to be able to run a mile under 7:30
mm,
or some number, 8 minutes. I don't know what the number is, but
yeah,
like you'd have all these standards that were like military standards that you would want the guys training in,
mm,
uh, with some purpose.
yeah,
But you're giving guidance,
yeah,
and you might even partner with places like CrossFit,
mm,
or I, I don't have ties to CrossFit, but if I did, you would dial in some militia, like the militia training regimen,
yeah, yeah,
right? And then you might have PT standards like the military,
mm,
where you probably don't exclude people because again, like This is a hobby.
Mhm.
But in a situation where you actually
And
need
you're
militia.
reaching for those goals. You're reaching
Yeah, but
for
like, you're just
those
helping people
requirements.
imagine. It's no different than what you were talking about, the hope of heaven,
Yeah.
right? The hope
It's
of
a
all
strive.
of church infrastructure should be helping you have a spiritual imagination,
Mm.
that you strive for the hope of heaven.
Yeah.
And a militia infrastructure is that you're just striving to actually be in a position where you could defend your own individual liberty and stand along others that also want to defend their individual liberty and work together because you're stronger together to defend your individual liberty.
Yeah.
And but there's no militia church, right? There's no militia training. There,
Mhm.
it's hard to get plugged into. I don't even know where to
I
start,
didn't even know where
right?
the nearest
So
one
we're gonna
is.
leave this, and like one of the things we have to figure out is like we have to figure out like what does a militia actually look like?
Yeah.
How do you build one? How do you start from scratch? Like let's just build one,
Yeah.
right? And from there, uh, see if you can turn it into a national movement.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. I mean, it's not impossible. Like you don't have to be in politics to do that.
Yeah.
We could just start that, and we should.
Yeah.
Um, but like all things, you need time, energy, effort, and money.
Yeah. I think it's a patriotic endeavor though to strive to
Absolutely,
that.
it is fundamentally American.
And I think that's what matters the most in this whole conversation is that we're striving to be patriotic. And I think
Well, what's most important is not patriotism. What's most important is that we're striving to ensure the Americanism that our forefathers wanted for us.
mm,
And patriotism is a abused word because it's like some sort of blind allegiance to your country.
yes,
But in
no,
this
yeah,
case, that we're not blindly allegiant to our country. We are we believe in individual liberty, and we believe our forefathers put structures in place to actually protect that individual liberty, one structure of which is trained militias.
yeah.
And
And
so
it's
on
not
so
blindly because we understand these things at a
correct,
fundamental and educational level.
correct.
Yeah.
Because the United States of America could become broken and corrupt and led by bad people
Yeah.
and could turn into something it was never intended to be.
Mhm.
And in many ways, it maybe is today. Like
Mhm.
a lot of what Trump is undoing is a lot of anti Americanism,
Mhm.
right? You see what Pete Hegseth is doing inside the military.
Yeah.
He's
The Department of War.
the Department of War at this
Mm.
point is now trying to eradicate anti Americanism
Mhm.
inside of the military. Well, that's all healthy.
Yeah.
But how did it happen in the first place? We just weren't vigilant enough. Thomas Jefferson foresaw all the problems of being able to maintain the four squares, the bright lines of Americanism. And he said that the only way we will maintain it is if we have what he called eternal vigilance.
Mm.
That's what we're lacking. Eternal vigilance. Actually, that could be the motto of the
The militias.
militia.
Yeah.
In Latin, we'll find out what in Latin eternal vigilance is.
Yeah, I love that.
And
Explain that definitionally for people who might not understand.
vigilance and eternal.
Yeah,
Well, I
eternal
mean, obviously, eternal is like you
vigilance.
never give up. You can never stop doing it. Like it just goes on perpetually.
Mm.
So like perpetual focus.
Mm.
Like it's
Never
like it's like
ending.
in Japan they have something called kaizen,
Mm.
which is the perpetual pursuit of even more excellence.
Mhm.
So if you think this thing is perfect, no kaizen.
Mhm.
Push it to the next level. Can we take it to another level? How do we make it even better? Right. So it's right the eternal pursuit of perfection.
Mm.
Right. You never get there. You're always pursuing even greater perfection. Well, in this case, eternal vigilance
Mm.
is that you never stop looking over your shoulder for the forces that would take away your individual liberty,
Mm.
and you protect against it with determination and awareness. It's kind of situational awareness.
Mm.
It's eternal situational awareness about where your individual liberty might be disrupted,
Yeah.
might be taken from you. And that's it's needed. Like if we would have had eternal vigilance post World War II, we would not be in the position we're in today,
Yeah.
right? But we for sure lost eternal vigilance inside of our education system.
Mhm.
And we've definitely lost eternal vigilance inside of our political system. There's no doubt that like the amount of regulations that have come down from politics onto business, not Americanism.
Mhm.
Definitely, we're not eternally vigilant about watching that. I mean, they've slipped all kinds of just been like slippage,
Mm.
right? Like death by 10,000 paper cuts
Yeah.
is how the politicians gain power on the
Over time, yeah.
yeah or abuse power. They're not supposed to have more power. Like again, Americanism is very limiting in what government is supposed to do,
Yeah.
but the only enforcement of that restriction are the citizens.
Mhm.
So if the citizens aren't paying attention and the politicians all start think they can run wild, then they will.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Let's have kind of a little um, exit here.
Hmm.
What do you want to say? Because I think this video kind of turned into just a conversation,
Yeah.
which I actually enjoyed.
Hmm.
Um, so what would you like to say to the people who would be watching this and kind of what you're doing to be a part of all of what we've talked about?
Well, we all have to wake up,
Mhm.
number one. And when you wake up to the evil that is the leftist, Antifa, communist, Dems,
Yeah.
and what they're trying to turn this country into, then you say, "All right, I've woken up to the evil, but now what do I do?" And for me, I'm willing to go get involved in politics in order to use that foundation to hopefully affect a lot of other change, like maybe we create a militia system.
Yeah.
Just how do I get us back to Americanism?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are the things that like an everyday American citizen can do? Number one, read the Constitution.
Mhm.
Number two, read at least the key Federalist Papers. You don't may have to read the whole Federalist Papers, but read the key ones. And now the nice thing is you have Chat or Grok. Probably Grok is going to be more fair about it, but
Mhm.
to guide you to the most important Federalist Papers, you have a professor in your pocket on some
Yeah.
level that can help you understand what Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or John Adams or any of these guys really wanted for our country. So educate yourself on that stuff and understand how critical individual liberty actually was to their whole hope for this country. They did
Mhm.
not care about democracy. All they tried to create is a system of government that would protect the liberty of the individual.
Mhm.
If they thought democracy was that thing, they would have done it,
Yeah.
but they didn't. And so they created a constitutional republic. The
Mhm.
most important of that is constitutional. And our constitution is specific. And unlike really any other constitution on the planet, I don't think anybody else has 2A.
Mhm.
Nobody else said our citizens need weapons of war. So now that you've educated yourself on that, now go get weapons of war
Mhm.
and get well trained in weapons of war. Be ready to use weapons of war if required to protect your own individual liberty.
Yeah.
That is a fundamental Americanism. So that's something else some people can do. Then the question becomes, how can I get involved in civics? And one of the endeavors that we're trying to unpack right now is there are 530,000 elected positions in the United States. Actually, a little more than that, but 530,000 elected positions from sheriff to school board to district attorney. And think about whether or not there's any of those things you'd be willing to do.
Mhm.
City government, whatever. Like, look at your world, your little world, and say, how can I have impact on protecting individual liberty in my village?
Mhm.
I think that's an important thing for people to do. Um, and then we got to get our voting systems to be fair and auditable. And then we all have to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, like, tons of people aren't voting in this country.
Yeah.
And it's a detriment to Americanism because a lot of the people that aren't voting actually love America,
Mhm.
actually love freedom. They love freedom so much that they take it for granted. They love freedom so much that they don't even want to have anything to do with the government. But the only way you don't get to have anything to do with the government is if you maintain individual liberty.
Yeah.
And the only way that happens is with voting and guns. Hopefully voting, right?
Mhm.
Voting is Voting is our primary choice to maintain individual liberty. And if all else fails, we have the in case of emergency break glass, that is weaponry.
Yeah.
So those are really like the two fundamental things. Well, I should say three. Understand that this entire country is built on protecting individual liberty. Understand how to get involved in civics to protect that,
Mhm.
and have weapons of war and be able to use them in case of emergency. If
Yeah.
you just do those three things, like you've accomplished a lot as an American,
Yeah. A lot more than most.
a lot more than most.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot more than me for most of my life,
Yeah.
frankly, because I was very naive about how precarious individual liberty actually is.
Mhm.